Hey there, all you filthy heathens. This is Kirk coming back to you again. As you can see, I've let my hair grow, let my beard grow, so I'm hoping I can get my hair long enough to be as slick and slippery as Gavin Newsom, which is what we're going to talk about today to start off. We're going to make this really quick because I'm filming this in between bathing my kids. So we're going to try to get this done real quick, but it's been a long layoff again, and I do have some videos that I'm going to post at the end of next week. With city council meeting, a couple of school board meetings that I want to make sure you guys get a chance to see. So those are going to be posted next week. But there's been a lot of news recently that I wanted to make sure I addressed. The first thing was actually the debate between Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom. As you can see on the screen here, I actually have a belief on how that debate turned out. And it's pretty straightforward. I think it was very clear Ron DeSantis was the winner. I'm not just saying that because I'm a more conservative person. I remember sitting through debates when I was younger. I was a big fan of George W. Bush in 2000, 2004. And I could tell you in 2004, George W. Bush did not win a debate. I can tell you in 2000, that first debate was kind of close between Al Gore and George W. Bush. So I had a rooting interest, and I can tell you when my guy lost. Same thing when you go to 2012. I was a Romney voter. I wouldn't say a supporter, but a Romney voter. And I could tell Mitt Romney won the first two debates. The first debate was, without a doubt, Mitt Romney destroyed Barack Obama. Second debate was a little bit closer. Romney still won. That third debate, it looked like Romney just took the night off and Barack Obama destroyed him. And I don't know how much that would have affected the vote, but I know I kind of felt uneasy coming out of that debate going, I think Romney left something on the table there. So I'm not somebody who looks at these debates and completely through my own eyes, but it was pretty clear Ron DeSantis just put a beat down on Gavin Newsom. And it got to the point, I mean, normally like the abortion issue is usually been an issue for Republicans ever since the Dobbs decision. But even DeSantis kind of won that. To me, he won on that issue. He was pretty clear on what he wanted to do. Gavin Newsom didn't really answer the question from the commentator. So yeah, I think it was pretty clear Ron DeSantis won the debate. Now there's a lot of people out there complaining, oh, it was Sean Hannity was the moderator. It's like, well, first things first. Every 4 years, conservatives like me have to sit back and watch presidential debates where the moderator or moderators are a bunch of liberal hacks. So welcome to my world, liberals. All right, this is what we have to live with every 4 years. So you got to see it one time, and oh, it didn't go for your guy the right way. Shut the fuck up. So that's number one. Number two, Gavin Newsom just a couple of weeks ago was bragging about he baited Ron DeSantis into this debate. And now you have people complaining that he got his ass whooped on national television. Go fuck yourself. All right, just go fuck yourself. And we'll get to more of that later because we're going to talk about Elon Musk in a little bit. But that's not to say that Gavin Newsom didn't have his good points. And the reality, though, is he really only had one good point in this debate. He only had one kind of shining moment, and it's actually a really, deep jab. I was actually like, oh, this is going to be a real debate. This is going to be rough. It's when Gavin Newsom said this, and you can see the video here, and I'll cue it up here.
I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse. You want to roll back hard-earned national rights on voting rights, on civil rights, on LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, but also access to contraception. You want to weaponize grievance. You are focusing on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with. You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So, Sean, there are profound differences tonight and I look forward to engagement. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
So that's actually Gavin Newsom's best moment of the whole debate. I thought he was that was actually, it was at the beginning of the debate, and he's really, that's a really good way to start the debate for him. And it kind of highlights how he differs from Ron DeSantis. It attacks him completely. He knows he's not going to have much of a record to run on, and you tend to see that throughout the debate, is that he can't run on his record. He can't really talk about how much better California is than him without lying through his teeth and getting called out on it. So this was actually a really good start to the debate. And to take that final dig at DeSantis, because DeSantis is behind in the polls, even though there is a path for him to get the nomination, it's not likely. But it's Newsom knew what he was doing here. And this was actually, again, really slick. And I, as someone who's a political junkie, you've got to admire, that is a good line right there to hit DeSantis over the head with right off the bat. So if you're somebody who only turned in to like the first 5 minutes or so, and you saw this, you probably could have walked away going, yeah, I don't see how DeSantis really comes back from that, because that's kind of that's a nice right hook to just to smack DeSantis right away. But the reality is that Gavin Newsom is a better politician, and I mean that in the most negative of way. He is much slicker. He's probably better looking, I'd imagine. He's taller, so that always buys some credibility with some people. And he's just a more slick politician, and that's a skill that you have to be able to develop if you want to be taken seriously on a national stage. For the most part, he's really good at that. But this was a little bit like somebody with when you have a contrasting styles in fights. If for MMA, it's maybe something more like a I want to say like a wrestler, but someone who's like really good at ground and pound versus someone who is we'll go with like a Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva kind of fight, and someone who's really slick and can move and dodge and stick and stuff like that. That's kind of Newsom's game, is he's really slick. He can move around things. He doesn't really ever, he just kind of slips in, slips out real quick and hits you real quick and then is out. But Ron DeSantis goes through here and just gets him down and pounds on him for a little bit every single time. And I'll show you some examples. These are generally my favorite examples that I was able to find. The best one I found was this one. I'll cue it up for you.
But let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation, all without you knowing or consenting. How in the heck is that honoring parents' rights when you're bringing people from out of state to go around their parents' backs and getting life-altering surgeries? That is radical. That is
Ron,
extreme.
these kids
That is an
just
assault
want
on
to live.
parents' rights.
You know what, Ron?
Not for you to decide. It's for the parents to decide. And the parents do not want their kids going to. Let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California.
All right, so you saw my son just come in and I had to shoo him away. But that is probably the best thing that Ron DeSantis did, and he had a lot of those. And I couldn't find some videos that I thought I had posted earlier. So, but what I'm seeing here is, if you go back and watch the whole debate, every time Newsom tries to play his game of being a bit slippery, it's really, DeSantis comes back and has just some basic, lays him out like this way. There's a great line where DeSantis points out, yeah, you have so many people moving out of your state. And I was talking to a guy who was really happy to be in Florida. And it turns out, Gavin, it's your father-in-law. Your in-laws fled your state to move to my state. And that was a great line there. There was a couple other ones, so you have to go and watch the debate. I think it was really clear that it was basically a politician, a slick politician versus an actual somebody who gets shit done. So it's someone who talks a big game versus someone who gets shit done, and the guy who gets shit done won the debate. Now, here's the thing. In reality, this is going to be helpful for DeSantis. I think it'll help him a little bit. You probably won't see any kind of shift in the polls. He's not going to suddenly be at 30% in New Hampshire. That's just not going to happen. But I think it may solidify himself in Iowa. And if he can get to a certain point, I think this may help him out a little bit in South Carolina as well, because he's gone out and he said, look, I'm more conservative than Donald Trump. You heard Gavin Newsom quoting Donald Trump and Nikki Haley to attack me. I'm more conservative than those people. So I think that might help him in the GOP primary. I still actually think DeSantis probably is going to win Iowa. He's put in so much work there. He's gotten so many people committed to caucusing for him. He has a really good ground game there. The governor of Iowa has endorsed him, so she's going to be around kind of, using her ground game in that state to help him. So I think even though he's still way behind in the polls in every state behind Trump, I think he's the favorite to me to win Iowa, and then things can change. I think he has to win Iowa or he just needs to get out. But I don't think this debate is going to help him in the polls, but I think it's going to kind of solidify a lot of things that he kind of wants. So I think this debate went exactly the way Ron DeSantis wanted. I think it's also the debate that we really need to have in this country, because the difference, the two sides of the culture and of politics and everything, they're represented entirely by these two states and these two governors. 100%. You have Ron DeSantis in Florida and Gavin Newsom in California. That's the divide in America right now. It's not Trump and Biden. Trump and Biden are, both of them, they'll be lucky if they're still alive in the next 5 years, because they're old. They're not going to be the key players in 5 years. This is the actual divide in America right now. It's Florida versus California. And the reality is that everybody's voting with their feet and leaving California. So that's exactly how it is. And we'll see how this plays out. But this debate, I think, was a home run for Ron DeSantis. It was a big risk. And I think it's going to pay off, even though you don't see it in the polls. I think it'll pay off long-term for him. So that debate is kind of a big deal. At least for me, I'm kind of a junkie. I like this. I think this is the real debate going on in America. However, there is a guy in this country doing a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and putting his money where his mouth is more than anybody else has, and that's Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been honestly, he's the greatest American of my generation. I don't know of anybody else that. Oddly, he's an immigrant too, so it's great. He's probably the greatest American we have in the country right now. And I think what's really rough here is that he is being targeted by these corporations like Disney, like Coke, like Walmart. These corporations are actively trying to get him to silence people like me. And if they don't, they're going to pull ad revenue and pull money and stuff like that. And I hope that his reaction to this, what he says here, I'm going to show this video in a second. I hope this actually ends up paying dividends down the road. I think he's going to eventually get people, these companies that are pulling their ads, I think he's going to catch them in some bad ways, and I think you're going to see Disney start to plummet even more. You're going to see Walmart start to plummet. Oh, you don't want to advertise on X, on Twitter, on X Twitter? You don't want to advertise there? Well, maybe I don't want to buy my Christmas presents from Walmart. Maybe I don't want to, Coke is going to pull their ads from X. Maybe I don't want to buy Coke. Maybe I'll buy, I don't know, something else. I'll buy beer instead. Can't buy Bud Light. We'll see how Bud Light goes. I do kind of like what I'm seeing from Bud Light a little bit. We'll see when the first MMA fighter comes out and says something crazy while holding a Bud Light. We'll see if that's we'll see how Bud Light goes. But there's a lot of, I think Elon's trying to actively catch some of these people. It's just a matter of he's playing chicken with these corporations, and it's just a matter of is he going to win that game of chicken before X goes bankrupt. So that's the kind of thing that we're kind of seeing here. But here's his reaction to people saying, hey, well, you have to do something to keep these advertisers. And here's what he tells them.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
You don't want them to advertise?
That so yeah, go fuck yourself. That is the perfect answer. And I here's the thing is, I'm always a little bit like, even though it's a lot of times it's classless, I'm always happy when rich people take that term "fuck you" money to take it literally and tell people to go fuck themselves. I love it. I do sometimes, especially in this case, because this is obviously this isn't them pulling from X because Elon said something vaguely anti-Semitic, which is crap. In fact, there's other stuff that I'm actually looking up right now. TikTok is the main driver of anti-Semitism in the United States right now, as far as the social media platform goes. So, but Disney and all these other companies have decided that they're going to keep posting and buying ad space on TikTok, but not on X, which is, even though, so Elon said something that could have been construed as anti-Semitism, which it wasn't, when you actually look at his explanation and break it down. But TikTok is the main social media driver of Jew hatred in the US, and these companies have no problem spending their money on TikTok. So I mean, I'm getting to the point where, you see a bunch of Disney stuff behind me. I mean, I've told my wife to sell it. So, and my wife is the kind of like, Disney fan that, a lot of conservative commentators tell you is a red flag. But even my wife is saying stuff like, yeah, we're not going to Disneyland this year. Yeah, should we cancel Disney Plus? My wife is the only reason we still have Disney Plus. All right, so because she wants, and I do too. I want my kids to be able to grow up with that old IP. But we own all the DVDs. We can put the DVDs into DVD players still. So I'm not overly. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next 6 months we've just canceled everything that is Disney owned. Here, we've decided not to go to Disney World. We were planning to do that. We're gonna go to Hawaii instead, especially after the fires in Hawaii. We're gonna go do that. But moving on too is that Elon also he made it clear what these people are doing, and I think this is clear here. What he says here is great because the first clip goes with the second clip, because these companies are trying to look good and they're pitting themselves against Elon Musk so they can look good while they're over there giving ad money to the actual Jew haters over on TikTok. So, and that's what you see here, and I'll cue up the video.
And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them. And what I see...
That is perfect. So Elon Musk is actually doing good. X, used to be Twitter, is... I'm on this site now way more than I am Facebook or any other social media site, really any other site at all, because I can get news from 12 different sources in a couple of minutes, and it's not filtered through some algorithm. There is on the For You tab, but I can go through all the people I'm following and get solid news reporting, and I can interact with people. It's so much better now than it was before Elon bought, because it just is freer. You can say what you want, and you can make jokes. I have to be careful what I post on Facebook. I got a week-long ban on Facebook because I joked. I made a joke about during Pride Month, like I made a joke about gay people or something like that. It was like really innocuous. Like one of my friends posted like a rainbow flag, and I just I put like ew gays, and just something silly like that. And they gave me a 7-day ban or something like that because of that. I'm like, it's a joke that I'm making with a friend of mine from high school. What the hell is wrong with you? You can't do that on Facebook, but you can on X. And you can say that that's wrong and that's mean and blah 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 all you want. But I can do that with a friend on X. I can't do it on Facebook. So that's what's really great. This site, I hope it lasts. I'm honestly like, I know it's like $8, but it's not gonna save the company, but I'm honestly thinking about just paying for the blue check just so that I can, kind of contribute in any way. So that's my take, and I really hope Elon is going to keep this going, and hopefully this game of chicken pays off and X stays afloat long enough for Disney to realize like, oh, we should probably go back. And I'm hoping that's the case. So that's what I have as far as like politics, free speech, culture, stuff like that. But something that I did do is I watched a movie last weekend. I watched Napoleon. So when I watched Napoleon, I went in having high hopes. So maybe it kind of brought me down a little bit. I will tell you this about Napoleon. It's not a bad movie. I know and I would say like right here with Rotten Tomatoes, this score like 59, 58, that's probably how I feel. I walked out kind of meh. And I have been looking more into the history of Napoleon a lot more the last couple of years. So maybe that's also why I was maybe a little disappointed. But the reality is that any movie about Napoleon should be great. And this movie was not great. It was good. It's definitely a movie that you should go watch. It's definitely a movie that, here's the thing. I would probably go watch it again. If I had to do over, I would watch it again. I wouldn't pay for IMAX, is kind of what I'm getting at. It's a good movie. I definitely recommend you watch it, but it's not a holy crap, this is great. And here's why. I'm gonna tell you this. And I've actually had other people tell me basically the same thing, and we don't talk. And they just kind of we've finally got together on like Facebook or something like that, and they're basically giving me the same. This is my critique of the movie, and it's the same critique, pretty much. And here's my general critique. The story of Napoleon is a story of 3 different men. There's a story of Napoleon the man, and that does center around him and his wife Josephine's relationship. That is Napoleon the man, and they did a decent enough job on that story, telling that story. And that was pretty good. That was actually above average. That was the best part of the movie, is that dynamic. Then you have Napoleon the ruler, Napoleon the king, the emperor, all that stuff. They did a horrible job at that. 100% horrible job at telling that story of Napoleon the ruler. And that's fine. I don't think that was the focus, but still, they did a horrible job of telling that story, but they tried to tell it, and they didn't do a good job. And then you have Napoleon, the military general, the conqueror. And I'm not going to get too much into the obvious historical issues that I have with some of the battles and things like that. But yeah, it did not do Napoleon justice, what they did. I've seen historians and stuff give commentary on it on YouTube and other places, and they're like, they tore apart, even though the Waterloo battle was a good battle, like as far as the production and everything. I've seen a lot of people say Waterloo was horrible. That's not how Waterloo happened. A lot of the battles were not historically accurate, and how it was done. So I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, yeah, it just wasn't. None of those stories. They tried to tell 3 different stories, and they told none of them well, is basically the bottom line. And when you're doing a movie about Napoleon, it's got to be great, because he was a great man. Maybe not a good man, but a great man. So he obviously shaped how Europe is today. Even a lot of these borders that you see are shaped by Napoleon. Even the royal family in Sweden, I believe it's Sweden. Napoleon appointed the original, king of Sweden. So he's a descendant from somebody. So the current monarch in Sweden is descendant from somebody Napoleon made king. So it's so it's still, he still has effects now. And if you're gonna tell a story about a great man, you got to tell a great story, and you got to have a great movie. And this wasn't great. I think anybody thinking about making a Napoleon movie going forward should probably focus on one of those stories at a time. Focus on, this movie kind of already focused on Napoleon the man, and his relationship with his wife, and how that kind of the ups and downs and everything like that. I think if you're going to make another Napoleon movie, you should focus on Napoleon the general, and really lean into those battles and those and try to get it historically authentic. And I think that's the way to go going forward. But yeah, Napoleon the movie, just kind of good, and it being just good, not good enough. So that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Give me a like, a share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, make sure you go into my X page. It's it's at Heathen Kirk on X. Take a look at it. That's where I post all of my just whatever random bullshit pops into my head, and it's probably where you get the most entertainment from me. I will be posting a video again, I said, next week, because I do have city council meetings and a school board meeting next week, and I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to be really pissed at me when I get done with my school board comments. I have a feeling like even people that I go with, and we're on the same side of this whole book issue with the whole porn in our school libraries issue. I think a lot of them are going to be upset with me after this. So I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it's just kind of something that everyone knows is true in the bottom of their hearts. But I'm going to make sure it's very clear what I think on this particular topic, because this is going to be probably my first time going away from the pornographic books at the school board meeting, and we'll see how it goes. But I think a lot of people are going to be upset, or at least kind of give me kind of the kind of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. And but I'm going to be posting those videos later, and we'll see. You can see those next week. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.